What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Brian, more and more test screening talks. And now, apparently, a 5-minute preview in IMAX for in front of Minecraft is supposed to be coming out, right? And then we'll get into some talks about Batman, more specifically about Affleck's experience filming that. But Superman 5 test screenings. I mean, Superman 5, Superman test screenings.
That was a pretty funny slip right there. Because if this winds up being the successor for Quest for Peace, we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, right. Superman. Brian, what have you heard lately about test screenings and your thoughts on this 5-minute preview in front of Minecraft in IMAX? What are your thoughts?
We probably should have seen this coming. And the second I saw this story, I was like, this is, of course, this is a tried and true Warner Brothers tactic. Remember Dark Knight? That's the first, they gave you the first scene on IMAX to show off the cameras in front of, I forget what movie they did. Dark Knight Rises, they did the plane hijacking in front of
Yes.
a movie as well. Like, I should have known that they were going to do that. And in Minecraft makes perfect sense because it's like a family oriented movie that is trending okay, but certainly not amazing. And this clearly would be an attempt to have a synergy. Like, we want to get excitement up for Superman, but we need to get people to go to Minecraft to see that. So this will not be a trailer. I think it will be much more like The Dark Knight, where it's like a scene. Like, they're going to show you a scene start to finish. And maybe, I believe in the Dark Knight Rises one, it actually did have like a mini teaser at the end, like a quick cut. I think it was like this, the plane hijacking, and then they showed you a couple quick cuts, like in a trailer style, and then they faded. I think it could be like that. The question we're not totally sure of it, are we getting on all the prints? Like, so I'm assuming yes. This actually got confirmed in Asia first. It has not been confirmed in US, but let's put it this way. I was not going to go see the Minecraft movie in the theater. I will not do it the opening day just to find out. But if it becomes apparent that it is there, I will go see it to see it on IMAX, because James Gunn shot this with IMAX cameras. So I don't just want to see this on YouTube. I actually want to see if it is a scene or a trailer. I do want to see what it looks like on that scale of picture.
Yeah.
So in that sense, this is going to work because it's going to get at least some of the diehards to go see a movie they might not otherwise go see if this footage is there.
It would be interesting to go to the movie theaters and see how many people leave after the.
I will definitely, now granted, I'm in a market where I don't typically get a ton of crowded theaters, but I will monitor that. Now I'll stay for the Minecraft movie, and I might even take my kid because she plays Minecraft, so she's sort of lukewarm on it. But like, okay, I may take her, and we'll probably. But she's really fired up for Superman. So actually, it's kind of an easy sell if I kind of say like, hey, there's a big Superman preview in front of Minecraft. So we'll see.
When does that come out?
First week of April. So again, this all lines up with the CinemaCon, Superman Day on the 18th, right? All of this is like April is clearly going to be a push from these guys to get the momentum back. And, I want to be clear, like, we talk about the competition. It is a competition, and Marvel has seized a little initiative here with this Avengers Doomsday cast reveal. But let's not make any mistake. The biggest fans of Superman live at Disney, and the biggest fans of Fantastic Four live at Warner Brothers. They want each other's movies to hit big because it helps the genre, it helps the buzz, it helps the IP, and they both need that momentum back. So
yeah. Yes, they do definitely. Every time I think about the stuff that they've done, and we'll get into some of the test screening situations, some of what people have said.
Yeah, I have a list of quotes actually this week from the screenings. It's actually interesting. I've got like a rapid fire, like, here's actual quotes from people who saw it.
Let's go with that. Go ahead.
Okay, you want to hear about? Okay, this was the first time. So we've heard a lot of like hearing this and hearing that. These are actual quotes from people who came out of the movie and what they said, and it covers a lot of different ground. Some people are like uber high on it. Some people are not. Most of the trailer scenes are from early in the film, end quote. So that's something James Gunn said. They confirmed it. This one is for Pablo. Crypto plays an important role, but he felt a little tacked in. That part felt artificial, end quote. Many characters are not what they seem. Characters aren't who people think they are. That one's interesting.
Bizarro. Go ahead.
That one's interesting. It implies there's some hidden, this is the hidden stuff. The film was not a comedy, but did have funny moments in it. But the secondary plot of the film, this was interesting, focused primarily on Lois and Clark, and Brosnahan stole every scene she was in. End quote. I think that is important to the success of this movie, that
Yes.
quote be true.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we heard Nicholas Hoult was amazing. Here's one that tempers that expectation a little bit. So I think it's interesting. Quote, Nicholas Hoult was good as Lex Luthor, but he overacts a bit. He does the anger very well, but he was a bit much in his other scenes, end quote. That makes me a little bit worried that he's doing a little bit of Spacey and a little bit of Hackman. Makes me a little worried because those two guys overacted big time, hammed it up big time as Lex.
I don't know if that invokes that sentiment. I think it invokes more so some of the images that we saw in Lex in the Superman trailer, where the one that he has the gun and he looks sort of weird and stuff like that. I think it's speaking towards that. Maybe he's overdoing it a little bit in terms of his portrayal of Lex Luthor. I don't know if we get into the Gene Hackman Spacey situation, but I think perhaps there's a little bit of going overboard too much in terms of his acting.
Yes.
So
yes. So that one was a little bit of a bring it back to center. Quote, some of the effects don't work super well, but not sure if it was an early cut. The scenes at the Ice Palace in particular were a little rough, end quote. That's a TBD. But this has been sort of a, people are certainly looking and scrutinizing and asking. This is one of the reasons I want to see this Minecraft scene in IMAX, because in theory, that's going to be a done scene.
Yes.
And if you're putting that out as the first IMAX footage, that better look good.
Yes.
I don't care if it's people talking, it better look good. So
yes.
I think that's a notable quote right there. Quote, had a lot of characters, but didn't feel like they took away from the main plot. End quote. Okay. That's a win, if that's true. Random quote about some of the henchmen. Lex's goons were delightful, worked well with his energy, felt they helped, but weren't absolutely necessary, end quote. Here's one that just sort of, quote, my impressions were that the film is good, but I'm a person who doesn't follow DC films. Not a comic book buff, but I enjoyed it, end quote.
This is obviously someone who doesn't have a lot of affinity for superhero movies and is not familiar, obviously, right? So if it was from someone who was definitely involved in the superhero genre and said that, then I would have a different feeling towards it. Because this person doesn't have that experience or familiarity, I really don't take that sort of commentary and feel anything towards it.
I agree. It's also one of those where like this film has to get that person to buy in though to be successful. So in some ways you could argue that quote is actually the most important one on the board, because you can't get to 800 and a billion and repeat viewings just on the diehards. Like it has to be that person who's like, yeah, this was a lot of fun and I liked it, especially after the other superhero stuff that's been on the screen.
But I think diehards are the ones that go a second and third time.
True, but word of mouth, I think, is more from to get a film to a billion, to get like Avengers style money, which this is not going to get, but to get to that level, it's not the diehards that do it. It's people saying to everyone else. It's saying to everyone else, even if you don't love this type of stuff, you're going to love this. So that you could argue was encouraging. Bottom line is, it's not unilaterally positive. I don't hear a lot that's really bad. You hear some stuff that like the effect stuff. Like if that doesn't work, like that's really concerning. That movie's probably not, it's probably going to really hurt the movie. But, and the fact that again, you're getting like all these quotes, like there's some sort of concerted effort here to like get all this into the public eye. They clearly like want people, somebody wants people to be reading this and talking about it.
That I'm going to say it again. I said this a long time ago. Everybody went crazy when they saw Superman's eye go one way, and for me, if that is Bizarro, James Gunn tricked everybody who thought or who had something to say about it. My excitement towards the film is unchanged. certainly my concern has grown a bit because I always have concerns when it comes to James Gunn because he has a certain aesthetic and a certain sense of humor that I don't necessarily find humorous. And his aesthetic is fine. You can see it in the movie. You can see how colorful and how bright it is, and it looks good. It's the story that usually that I have an issue with, especially when it comes to the humor aspect of it. I don't like conversations going nowhere just to tell a joke. So we'll see. We'll see. But hey, like I've said before, I'm waiting to go see this movie to have my opinion on it. What other people have to say, is other people's opinions, and we can all agree. I haven't seen it, so I can't really take what other people say as I can't take that with me to go see this movie. So, but it definitely gives you some insight, though.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and like I think this promotional effort in the next month, I think, will be critical to the hype of the film. This definitely
They
is
got to
like
get us to that next level, Brian.
exactly, 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 and I think they got to thread that needle of showing the right things without giving away the key things. And yeah, this is a real. They've changed the head of marketing on this film. This is a real challenge right now to deliver in the next month. And they've got to get
Yep.
that hype up. And I don't know if we'll talk about it today. We might talk about it next week probably. But like, it was interesting to me, like the summer hype. They're actually fighting a more uphill battle than it might seem. Like the movies that people seem to be entrenched excited about are not necessarily the ones you and I gravitate toward the most. But it just shows you in a crowded marketplace the work you need to do to get something like this to where everyone's like, I gotta put down my dollars in a tighter economy. I got to put down my dollars to go see this and maybe go see it again.
Yeah. If you don't like this movie, are you going to see it a second time?
I'll probably see it more than once, regardless, just because it is Superman, and I think it's kind of thing we want to pick apart and take, evaluate. But I think the real question is like, if you see it twice in the theater, and then you see it on an airplane or you see it on cable at home, are you flipping to it every time?
Yeah.
That I think is the test, right? We know what the great movies in our genre. I can't let them go. Every time I see them, I'm like, I gotta watch 10 minutes.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. I was watching Infinity War. My son is going to be 7. And I had it on, and he's usually playing on his Nintendo Switch on the iPad, watching kid stuff. And he started watching it with me. I haven't gotten him to see the other films, but he was watching it. He was watching it, and I was watching it just to get back to good stuff again. You know what I'm saying? To see what they've done in the past, and can they get us? And, every time Mark Ruffalo's character came up, I was. That's why. Again, I'm gonna reiterate. That's why Infinity War and Endgame 2 and 3 respectively. Number 1 is Winter Soldier. 2 and 3 because of Mark Ruffalo's character, the Hulk character. The Hulk character just didn't work for me. I'm sorry. It's horrible. It's horrible, horrible, horrible.
So funny story along those lines. We were flying back from a trip recently, and I was on a plane, so I was like, what am I going to watch to fill a few hours? And I kind of was looking around. I was like, oh, I should put on Endgame for a bit. So I just kind of threw it on. Like, it wasn't like I don't have to rewatch the whole thing intently, but I had it on. Blah 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 blah. And then like I'm watching it, and I look over, my daughter's in the seat two seats down, and like I'm like, what's she watching? Oh, she's got Avengers 1 on. She just popped that
Ah.
up to. I was like, it's like one of those random things of like what people rewatch, right? You just like, hey, what am I going to
Yeah,
do with a couple hours? I'll put an Avengers movie on because they're great.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I mean. It's like it's just you want Superman to be in that category. You want it to be in that category.
I might have to reassess my rankings because Avengers is one movie where the Hulk wasn't a mess.
That's yeah. That's the 1A high point I think of the whole right. It's like that I think he probably peaks with what is he? The ultimate peak is the start of Infinity War, right? Where he gets beat by Thanos. That fight with Thanos, that for those 10, 15 seconds is probably the high point of the Hulk and then the beginning of his fall. But he's
He
good.
wasn't.
Ruffalo's really good in Avengers 1
Yes, he was. He was very good, and he wasn't that bad. Also in
in
Age of
Ultron.
Ultron.
No, he's not.
Yes,
Yeah, he's not.
Affleck calls Batman excruciating. Here's what I have to say about that. He, like myself and perhaps many others, did not like what Zack was doing with those films. And I guess perhaps also Josh Whedon because he's the one that took over. But regardless, who was at the helm, he did not like the direction of that character. But he got paid to do it, so he did it. But he didn't have a good time. Your thoughts on his excruciating remark?
Yeah, that was understated. Affleck never wanted to pull back usually when he gets going on a subject. So
Yeah.
talking with GQ magazine said, quote, there were a number of reasons why that was a really excruciating experience. They don't all have to do with the simple dynamic of, say, being a superhero movie or whatever. I am not interested in going down that particular genre again, not because of that bad experience, but because I've lost interest in what was of interest to me. But I certainly wouldn't want to replicate an experience like that, end quote. But then they wanted to dig into why. And that's where he gets into a lot of stuff where he says, quote, a lot of it was misalignment of agendas, understandings, and expectations. And by the way, I wasn't bringing anything particularly wonderful to that equation at the time either. We know he was sort of in the throes of alcoholism, by all accounts. I had my own failings, significant failings in that process and at that time. But then he goes on to say, why didn't the movie work? Why didn't it ultimately succeed? And this is where, to your point, he brings in the studio and he brings in Zack without really naming them. Quote, what happened was it started to skew too old for a big part of the audience. Like even my own son at the time was too scared to watch the movie. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, we have a problem. But then I think that's when you had a filmmaker that wanted to continue down that road and a studio that wanted to recapture all the younger audience at cross purposes. Then you have two entities, two people really wanting to do something different, and that is a really bad recipe, end quote. I mean, that's a perfect summation of what happened.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting inside baseball look at him realizing as it's going on that it's not going to work. And I think it's kind of telling you which side he was on.
And it's not to say that whoever liked it because of whatever, right? Oh, Ben Affleck's Batman. Even he didn't like his own Batman, Even he didn't like his old Batman. And not to say that if you liked it, you liked it. But you got a guy who did The Town, which was a dope movie. Argo, dope movie. He is clearly he has a vision for certain things and how things should be and how that story should be told. He clearly came on board as an actor without opinions. Perhaps he did have opinions, but because of who he was dealing with, and I'm talking about the executives over there at Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, they have a vision and that's what they want to do and that's it. So Ben Affleck was there as an actor and not really someone who was a fan uh, of what was being done, and he just did the job.
Exactly. And he kind of references that in the piece where he sort of says, like, I wasn't awful on set, but I basically just showed up and went home, and that was it. And reading the article made me actually more interested for the Batman movie from him we never got. I got to be honest. Because he wasn't bad. And in fact, when you see him even in that little bit in the Flash movie, he's definitely not bad.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about the Flash movie is like, even for that scene, he was definitely at a better place in his life personally when he shot those scenes. And so if he's kind of telling you, like, I delivered this portrayal of Bruce when I wasn't really all there. And then you're kind of like, yeah, but you weren't that bad at the part, all things considered. It made me want to see, like, what would you have been like if you were all there and if you had tonal command of the character, which he wrote a treatment for the Batman versus Deathstroke story that he wanted to tell that never got made. It did make me wonder because I just was like, he was not the worst part of, and he was not the worst casting that Snyder delivered,
Yeah.
but he clearly saw the writing on the wall, which may have been why he looked so miserable in promotion. This was going in a direction that was not broadly appealing, but let's be fair. WB made that bed. They gave Zach the keys. Like that's the thing where it's like, I can't totally kill Zach in that case because it's like, what did you expect? Did you not watch Watchmen? Did you not watch 300? Did you not know like what this guy's storytelling style is like? You gave him control. Like that's how he perceived these characters. He was going to take it in that direction always. And so for them to then pull it back, is the studio wears so much of that blame in the end because they allowed the monster to grow and then couldn't rein it in. So I think Affleck owning up to that for all of us is probably the most honest depiction of what actually happened and what I think we've all felt when we look at those movies on screen.
When you go in excited, perhaps he was when he was first asked to do this. Perhaps he had his own ideas and opinions about this. And when those ideas get shut down and you're just there to play the role and get paid, your excitement level goes down. It's like this guy or these people are not going to listen to what I really have to say and how I think this should go. So it's like, it's just a job. It's just a job with no real emotional attachment to something that you would think they should be. And for those people who liked what Zach did, fine. You liked it. But at the end of the day, it's all about money and the majority. And the majority didn't like this.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, numbers don't lie. So don't try to sell me like this is the best thing. I'm sorry. No, it is not. To you, it might be, and that's fine. But I'm not going to get into a debate with you as to why this is this or that.
Yeah.
You're getting it from the horse's mouth. You're like Ben Affleck, right? He's telling you, yo, this was whack. He told you. I didn't enjoy myself on this. I didn't think this is the route we should have taken. But I did it anyway. And so say what you want, but you're getting it from the horse's mouth that was there and that was doing it.
Yeah.
And saw it all and telling you that wasn't a great experience. He called it excruciating. How many of you want to be in an excruciating situation? Now, I'm pretty sure not many of you.
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah, because you sat through 5.5 hours of excruciating announcements. I guess people like that sort of stuff. But again, say what you want about Zack Snyder's stuff. It didn't really hit like everybody wanted it to hit. It only affected a few people, and they couldn't continue. Zack Snyder sold Warner Brothers a dream, yo. He sold them an idea.
Yeah.
And because Marvel was doing what they were doing, Warner Brothers wanted some of that cake too. And there was and Zack came in to sell him on that idea, and it didn't work. Justice League made how much money in the theaters?
Like 600.
That is abysmal.
Yeah, correct.
Justice League? 600 million. Think about that, yo. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. And I'm talking to you, Brian. I'm talking to the people listening to this show. Think about that. Justice League? How much money did Avengers make is a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
It failed. It was a failure. Whether you got the Justice League that Zach wanted you to see or WB, which we saw. It was a failure. Even though you liked it. It was a failure, yo. Justice League, $600 million. I know $600 million is a lot of money, but Avengers made billions.
Yeah, the worst Avengers movie made double that. Ultron.
So don't come down here with your anger, trying to prove something to yourself.
Please, please. Justice League was a failure. That whole DCEU was a failure. And that is what history will tell years when we're gone. So, yeah, regard with Superman, because that's what's coming up. We ain't going into a new era, right? The DCU, James Gunn and his Superman, which will be the launch pad for the rest of the DCU if it gets off the ground. If it gets off the ground when it's all said and done. 700 million, 600 million possibly may give you hope. 700 million, 750 will give you hope to continue. $1 billion is again a green light to continue. And perhaps give more ammunition for Zaslav to sell it. Because that's where we're ending up at. That's what we're going to end up doing.
Well, sell high.
Yeah, so let us know in the comment section below what you get. Are you going to go see Minecraft to see this 5-minute presentation of Superman or this scene of Superman? And are you going to walk out right after you see it? Are you going to stick around and go see Minecraft? Because I don't know if I take my kids, yes, I'll stick around. But if I go by myself, and sneak preview at Lobo. So let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. And remember to hit that like and subscribe. And anything else, Brian?
Oh, it's good. We got a lot covered this week.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time on the Nerd Gen Report.